First years, welcome. This is another video about 5.3.2, so the second part of section 5.3. Today we're talking about page 136 and 137. The topics for today are where do plants store their food reserves and how do plants survive if they don't have enough food and minerals in their surroundings to keep themselves alive. To start with the first thing, we move over to this slide. You can see an image which shows a true bulb. True bulbs, it says, are made up of rings. Of course, you know the things that grow in the bottom and have a lot of rings. Onions, yes, they are onions. Okay, so onions are true bulbs. And if you cut one open, you would see a coat, so a tunic fragment, so the tunic which protected everything, the bulb coat, outer tunics, and inside there are already some developing leaves and developing flowers. So you could say that this looks kind of like a bud or a germ which contains already all the info. Although there is a basal plate here with already roots sticking out of it. So if you look at an onion, you can see that actually. And yes, that means that if you put an onion in the soil, then it will grow. Same goes for the Dutch bosuitjes and for a prei, for example. So they all will grow when you put them in water and grow to be new ones. Also, flowers like the hyacinth are true bulbs. Is that the only why? So why does an onion plant make the bulb? Well, it is there to store all the energy it made during the whole year. Onions, for example, they grow also in colder countries like our country, the Netherlands. And what do? Well, they make a lot of energy. They make a lot of food by changing the sunlight energy into glucose, and they store it as a starch or as a cellulose. And they store it inside their roots because in winter, when it freezes, the whole plant above ground level will freeze off, and then leaves the bulbs in the soil where it's not so cold. So the bulb or the roots will survive, and next year the onion plant will grow from the bulb and has already a lot of food stored in it. Of course, we come along then and pick the roots and kill the plant and eat it, but okay, so far so good. Is it the only way? No, it's not the only way to grow bulbs. There's also plants which grow tubers. It says tubers have no tunic, so not a protective coat, and they don't have a basal plate, and they have several growing points called eyes. So what kind of a bulb which is inside a ball which is inside the soil have eyes? Well, it turns out you know them very well. Those are potatoes. And if you leave potatoes lying around for a time and it's kind of moist here, there's a water around it, it takes it up and it forms those eyes. And those eyes form stems and roots already. If you put them in the soil, they will grow out to be new potato plants. You can do it with any potato you buy from the supermarket, or you can do it with specialized potatoes you can buy at a grower. Those specialized potatoes, they are known to have no viruses at all. So no viruses means that they grow very well. Are there more? Of course, there are more types. I tell you about one more. And this one more is rhizomes. And rhizomes grow sideways. So what does it matter in comparison to tubers? Well, tubers want to become real, fully grown plants. Rhizomes grow sideways rather than up. So they run along the surface of the soil or just below it. There's a plant you might know of, which is a rhizome, and it's ginger. So the ginger root, or in Dutch gember, it looks like a root, right? But it's not really a root; it's a rhizome. So it's a thickened type of root, and it stores all the food it made during the whole year. It stores inside that thickened root or the rhizome. Other types of food storage in plants are in seeds. So, for example, when you look at maize or you look at beans, lentils, there's a lot of food inside those beans. And why do they put all the food into the beans? Well, they store it actually in the cotyledons. Remember, we talked about beans, the brown bean. When you open it, you saw the germ above and a lot of storage beneath it. It was the cotyledon. And that food is needed when the beans are spread across the country or eaten by animals and pooped out somewhere. they need some starting point, so have a starting boost of food that already brought with them. So the starch, which is in there, most of the times it's starch, is produced by the plant during the year by means of photosynthesis, which forms glucose. Okay, so plants store their food either in roots in the forms of bulbs, of tubers, rhizomes, or in their seeds. Okay, there are also some plants that don't have access to everything. For example, this is a dodder plant, and this is a parasite plant. And a parasite, it means that it takes stuff from other plants around it. Parasites are also there in the animal kingdom, like mosquitoes. There are parasites. They parasite on our blood, right? They come and they with their straw-like tongues or beaks, they cut a hole in your skin and drink your blood. Well, these are parasite plants. This one is the dodder plant. The dodder plant would translate in Dutch as a warkruid. What does it do? Well, you see the dodder plant and its host. The dodder plant is the purple, and the green one is another plant. So what does it do? It circles around it, and the tube, the stem, actually, it penetrates the phloem of the host plant and sucks the nutrients out of it. So here you see it as a picture again. So this is the dodder, which grows around it, and it penetrates. And it penetrates with root-like structures called hostoria. Hostoria comes from the Latin hostorium, which means to drink from it. So the dodder, the warkruid, is a plant which does this on the stem. There are also examples of plants which do it at the roots, but the thing is they don't rely on resources from their environment, but they just want to steal it from others. It's a parasitic way of living. So here you can see where they actually attack. So they go around the stem of another plant, a random other plant, and they penetrate into the phloem. And as you know, in the phloem is the transport of nutrients, which was made by the plant itself. So the glucose produced by photosynthesis then is transported through the phloem to the other parts of the plant, and there is a leech inside that phloem which sucks out the glucose and uses it for its own good. There's also plants which you might know of, and this one is called, for example, Flytrap. And this is a plant which is a carnivorous plant. And a carnivorous plant, they grow on spots in nature where there is not enough food for them to survive. For example, there are no minerals in the soil. And if you paid attention to the last video, then you know that plants need minerals. For example, they need iron, they need calcium, some of them need magnesium. So if those minerals are not present in that part of the soil or in that part of the world, they come up with another ingenious system. This is a flytrap plant, and you can see it here on the bubbles. The end of the bubbles here, they are covered in a nectar-like solution. So it's really sweet, and the fly is not suspecting anything, and then it lands on the flytrap plant and is captured in it. And the plant then closes off and releases enzymes to weaken the structure of the animal cells that a fly have, to take out the minerals which are inside this animal. And it can thrive on it for a very, very long time. So once it's closed, it might be closed for weeks because it slowly digests the fly or digests the insects. Here you see another image, a beautiful image of several kinds of carnivorous plants. So these are the fly traps you see above here. So if they land in it, they close, they snap, really they snap. And for example, these are beakers, and these beakers are filled with enzymes. So there's sweet nectar around here, which is very slippery, and then the animals that drop in and they're slowly digested by the enzymes to give the plants the minerals they need. All right, so to sum it all up, plants make a lot of food, and they either store it in their roots or in their seeds. If they store it in their roots, you have to know several kinds of roots. You have to know about bulbs and about tubers. Plants who parasite on others are called parasitic plants. I give you an example of the dodder, which uses Hostoria to enter the phloem and suck out the glucose. And there's plants that are called carnivorous plants, so they eat meat, carnivores, and they do that because they need the minerals which are not in the soil. So those carnivorous plants, they do photosynthesis. You see they are green, right? But they also need minerals from the soil, and the minerals they get from eating other animals. Right. So now you'll be able to fill out questions 13 till 20. You find them in your workbook, page 74 to 76. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you soon in class. Bye-bye.